vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real war horse of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amber TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian/African movies, global politics, ABC Amber News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amber News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, intro governmental debates on topical issues with PADDY King, State of the Liberation Movement, fronting IG and people of Ambazonia's position, the Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASC. Health is wealth, health education and awareness within the Ambazonian community with Dr. Yaya. Liberation prayer and intercessory ministry for Ambazonia with Pastor Victor Mba. Our freedom, spiritual awareness and education for the Ambazonian community with Pastor Victor Mba and Pastor Commando. Church and politics, neutralizing the myths and preconceived religious and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics with Pastor Commando. The Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonian woman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey. Our Amber History, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Ambazonia to the world with Pastor Commando. Appointment on community building, education on patriotism within the Ambazonian communities with Ma Rachel Itatima. Ethics for an Emerging Nation, watchdog of basic principles and morals of a nation at war with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amber Focus, only on ABC Amber Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambertv.com/subscribe. The piece of cloth made in Ambazonia, a land brimming with history, courage, and the indomitable spirit of its people, a profound reflection of Ambazonia's collective identity and our unyielding struggle for freedom.
A full representation of who we are, what we are, the history, story, and the struggle. It's a piece of cloth you should have in your closet. It is woven into a rich tapestry of cultural heritage, traditions, and long-standing desire for self-determination. Proudly adorned with unique patterns and symbolizes unity in the Ambazonian people.
The cloth's patterns and colors mirror the courage and hope that fueled their aspirations for a brighter future. Each thread represented a story of bravery, sacrifice, and the unwavering commitment to justice.
The piece of cloth made in Ambazonia became more than just a garment. It transformed into a symbol of a call for recognition, worn proudly by Ambazonians and their allies worldwide. It carried a message: we exist and we deserve to be heard. As long as the cloth adorns chests and shoulders, the spirit of Ambazonia lives on, and the hope for a free and united land remains alive. piece of cloth made in Ambazonia, a land brimming with history, courage, and the indomitable spirit of its people, a profound reflection of Ambazonia's collective identity and our unyielding struggle for freedom.
A full representation of who we are, what we are, the history, story, and the struggle. It's a piece of cloth you should have in your closet. It is woven into a rich tapestry of cultural heritage, traditions, and long-standing desire for self-determination. Proudly adorned with unique patterns and symbolizes unity in the Ambazonian people.
The cloth's patterns and colors mirror the courage and hope that fueled their aspirations for a brighter future. Each thread represented a story of bravery, sacrifice, and the unwavering commitment to justice.
The piece of cloth made in Ambazonia became more than just a garment. It transformed into a symbol of a call for recognition, worn proudly by Ambazonians and their allies worldwide. It carried a message: we exist and we deserve to be heard. As long as the cloth adorns chests and shoulders, the spirit of Ambazonia lives on, and the hope for a free and united land remains alive.
Night boy, Yaba, son Shimagisu.
So the talk so now what we don't happen now so now so for NACHO junction 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now 8 this one this is struggle so 8 this and number 9 this. Now number 9 this. One the rocker and go hospital. Now 10 people so go. Before we go. Bamenda na NACHO junction this so go. Papa God go.
Good evening, fellow Ambazonians. You're welcome to this very important discussion. I would like to apologize for the tone and the lateness of it, but you know, it is a day, once again, that Ambazonians have seen their own slaughtered in cold blood. Indiscriminately, we will have colonial army from Yaoundé under strict instructions by the octogenarian Paul Biya to slaughter our innocent people, women and children inclusive. This is supposedly a trained army that is unable to distinguish between the targets, or should I say, those to contend with, and with unarmed. I'm talking about armless, harmless, very innocent civilians. Those youths, mostly youths with a bright future ahead of them. We saw yesterday Ambazonians woke up in the morning and heard of a massacre of 4, as though we had not finished digesting that. Towards evening in NACHO, that's after Hospital Roundabout, for those who know Bamenda town very well. We are told that the incursion by the colonial army started at about 6 p.m. Amber time. The excuse that was given is that they were hinted that some Ambazonian restoration forces were around the area, but at least they could have been able to identify or distinguish between a person or an innocent person that is a danger to them. Now, what has happened is against the Geneva Convention of War. Civilians should not be targeted. It is not a crossfire. There was no crossfire between the forces of occupation and the Ambazonian restoration forces. This was a calculated attempt. There is a side of the story that seems to suggest that perhaps they did so to frighten the people, because Frundi's barrier is coming and they know that Ambazonians are determined not just to boycott, but to resist the political barrier of Nijon Frundi. It's unfortunate how that close to 18 hours after such a sad event, or I would say 24 hours after such a very sad incident, we've not heard from Reverend Funky Samuel. We've not heard from Reverend Funky. We thought that Reverend Funky had positioned himself to talk about bad killings. When the Holocaust took place, the world said this was an evil and there should be some collectiveness in fighting against that genocide. Today, it is clear that Ambazonians are left on their own. Mainstream that is even attempting to reports with a spine. Even Southern Cameroon's influencers are wasting time talking about trivialities. None of them are talking the real thing. We have a few of them being distracted by the Anglophones, the privileged house slave Njalakwan's saga with Samuel Eto'o. My question, like my grandmother will always ask, who sent you? Njalakwan is playing the card of national unity against Samuel Eto'o. I'm not even in support of either of them, but that's a card we already know. Will it pull some traction? Unfortunately for him, Yaoundé will just take advantage of such a situation for those federalists, Confucianists, who are thinking that there could be a Cameroon to manipulate people at the end of the day. Or they might just despise him. Who sent you, Njalakwan, to fight for Anglophone marginalization and discrimination within the Cameroon failed construct? If anyone is genuinely standing for the people of Southern Cameroons, then you should be able to talk about the historicity and legality of these people. You have to talk about the sovereignty. Why is Njalakwan wasting his time as an enabler to talk about what is non-existence? Whoever said that the problem of the peoples of Southern Cameroons is marginalization within Cameroons? Of course, some days we were made to think that if marginalization will stop, then perhaps we may live together as one party. But even the Holy Book says that a house that is built on sand cannot stand. How did we come together? The very basic precedence that was set by Ahijo is the same thing that has destroyed the experiment that Southern Cameroonian elites in 1961 thought of. We had visionaries, those who thought big. Some might blame them for their rationale at the time, but they had a good intention, while their counterparts in La République du Cameroon had an evil intention. Moments before the sealing of a deal that Southern Cameroons came into with good intentions, Ahijo despised every procedure and protocol, invaded the former British Southern Cameroons, killed some, maimed some, dictated or destroyed our mobile wing police, and imposed on our president or prime minister at the time and a position under his invasion of our national territory. Since then until today that I speak to you, our people have been suffering from a belligerent occupation. It's now coming on the limelight because everyone is a journalist. There are mobile phones. You can't stop nobody. But I remember when I was young, I saw my brothers and sisters in Bamenda. I grew up in Bamenda. I was born and raised in Bamenda. I saw many being beaten, tortured on daily basis. And nobody was talking about it. Because you had their machinery, their propaganda machinery, CRTV, would choose and pick what was relevant to foster the BS government. As a boy that was less than 10 years old, I was going to Catholic primary school in Small Mancon at the time. I was less than 10 years old, I think in class 4, class 5 in primary school. And I saw the intestines of human beings spewed in front of me because the chief enabler, like the president calls him, Nijon Fundi, had won an election. When he won that election, they would not believe that an Anglophone or a Southern Cameroonian should lead a country. But again, a house that is built on sand cannot stand. Nijon's ego or adventure at the time was based on falsehood and betrayal. The concept from inception was not meant for a next president in the Cameroons. It was objective at making sure that the people of Anglophone or Southern Cameroons will find justice. That was few days after Mr. Biya totally seceded from a union that had already failed. Our leaders at the time grouped themselves and thought that they could create a political structure that would advocate for the rights of the peoples of Southern Cameroons. It was botched by the Frundi hunger for power. And today, this is where we are. Our enemies are trying to make relevant of a man who was wasted like soap in front of our own eyes. Our focus this evening will be on the NACHO massacre. The images are terrible. A couple, newly wedded couple, full of life and love, thinking of the next day, would have to end a journey. They have left behind two families mourning. When people marry and come together, families are excited, families are united. But these are two young people. A few days after their wedding, their lives will be wasted. And nobody's talking about it. Reverend Funky, this is time for you to speak. I will not waste your time because with me on our panel, I have Dr. Patience Abiodo. She will be contributing in this discussion, but her main objective here tonight is to talk about the reach out that was mastermind under the leadership of this interim government and the women's department. There was a reach out in Nigeria that started from the 20th of June, even until now that we speak. I'm sure they are still doing some things. For the very first time, Southern Cameroonians